the Laudato Si Action Platform, who is here with us. And we are all ears to hear from him. Thank you for joining us, because you also have a lot to do. I am Sister Mama Alifa Porokun. I am a missionary sister of Our Lady of Africa, and I am one of the executive co-secretaries of the JPIC Commission of USG and UISG. I am also the coordinator for Sowing Hope for the Planet, which is a project of the UISG, supported by the USG. So today, we have a brief outline of our program, our time together. After the introduction, we are going to have the opening prayer prepared for us by Sister Alfonsa. And then we'll have Father Roy, who will introduce John Mundell, the director of the Laudato Si Action Platform. And John will give us a short keynote address. And then Father Roy will introduce Father Vincent, who is our main speaker today. And then after that, we will have just to explain to you how to enroll on the Laudato Si Action Platform. Questions and answers, and then we'll have the conclusion. This is the short outline that we'll have today. Please enjoy it. What is Sowing Hope for the Planet? It is the UISG project which helps to coordinate the efforts of the religious sector of the Laudato Si Action Platform. It promotes the effort of men and women religious throughout the world. The purpose of Sowing Hope for the Planet is to help religious be aware of the needs of one another in such a way as to determine and affirm our responses to social concerns. Commitments and sharing our journey throughout Sowing Hope for the Planet, it is an important issue and also urgent. So in 2019, in the May plenary, the Superior General of UISG made an acclamation. And what was this acclamation about? It was, we commit ourselves to both personal and communal conversion, and we wish to move forward together in an orchestrated and coordinated response in listening to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, as we go forth as instruments of hope in the heart of the, there are things covering, I don't see. Okay, and in 2021, the Executive Council of the USG expressed their support for the Laudato Si Action Platform and also for Sowing Hope for the Planet, and encourage all of us to unite in this journey together. So Sowing Hope for the Planet website has a website, and in that website, it addresses the lives of religious and enhance the work being done by the Laudato Si Action Platform. So in this, here, you will see what Pope Francis is saying about Laudato Si, the importance of it. So here it shows you the different things that we have been doing, which you will find in that website if you want to have more information. So I asked Catalina to explain this slide.
So, just 1 second, Sister Mamalifer, can you unmute, please? Okay, so here we have the mapping of Sowing Hope for the Planet. Why? Because we think that it's really important to start also with what we have already. So the UISG has several constellations, and these constellations are a group of different countries that work together. And in 2019, they got together and they prepared some commitments and some needs that they have. So if you enter also to the goals, the part of goals in the Sowing Hope for the Planet, you can see the needs and the commitments from the different constellation of the UISG. And here we have already continued working. And last year we have also have a survey that we sent to the different constellations, also to ask how the constellation and the commitments were going. So if you can see here in this part, there have the congregational planning, the education part that is also important, the pastoral services, the environmental actions, and other actions that they are trying to develop also in the different constellations to continue this journey towards integral ecology.
So the fruitfulness of this effort needs to be shared. Whatever we are doing, it is good we share with others so that they can learn and also engage themselves. And what are the important things that we need to do in our whatever we are doing? It needs to be simple and manageable. We don't need to come up with very big things. And it needs to be inspiring enough to motivate people, and then flexible to suit different contexts. So we need to always take into consideration these 3 points in whatever we are planning to do to engage ourselves. So in our plans, there are 3 elements that are important that we need to take into consideration. The first one is public commitment. And in this public commitment, it has to be in connection with your religious charism, the charism of your congregation. And then from there, we need to realize the Laudato Si goals. How are the Laudato Si goals in connection with our charism that can help us live this and engage ourselves really? And we know that alone, we cannot do much. We need to connect with others to be able to do. And therefore, networking and advocacy are very, very important. And these 3 need to be reflected in our plans that we want to engage ourselves. So here you see, these are just a commitment from different congregations. And this commitment, some of them are done in general chapters. Others have written letters to the Laudato Si Action Platform saying, this is what we want to commit ourselves to. So if you want to look at examples, you will find all these things in the Sowing Hope for the Planet website to help you start your journey. So I invite Catalina to talk about this slide.
Yeah, I will explain it later in the conclusions, but basically here we have received some plans also from people around the world, including and connecting their carries with the Laudato Si goals. So these are also some other examples and a form that we have prepared also at JPIC Commission to help people also to fill out which are the activities, the objectives, and the areas and problems that they can approach to make this journey together. And we want also to share that during this year and last year especially, we have done a mapping survey to know which actions are congregations taking around the world. And we received so many information about people doing several things that are connected to the Laudato Si goals. We ask especially regarding the advocacy efforts and also the actions at the local level that they are taking. And if you see in the Sowing Hope for the Planet website, you can find which are these actions connected especially to migrants and refugee actions, ecological education, biodiversity, mining, and climate change actions.
So religious are encouraged to unite our efforts, urgent need for us to move forward in a bold cultural revolution. And if we really want to make change, we need 3.5% in order to make change. But we know that that is not enough. we want to make change, not just any change, but changing the system, systemic change. And change is something that is outside. And we also know that that is not enough. We need transformation, which is interior. So we need both transformation, interior transformation, and external transformation of the system, because the system is part of the problem. And if we want to move forward, we need to do something to change the system.
So now we want to invite Father Roy that he will continue this moment.
Yeah.
There's no script.
I invite Sister Alfonso to lead us into prayer now.
Okay. Thank you. I'll invite Kathleen to share the screen. Let us place ourselves for a second in the presence of the Trinity. As we say, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Okay.
Oh Lord my God, how great you are. You are clothed with majesty and glory. You cover yourself with light. You have spread out the heavens like a tent and built your home in the waters above. You use the clouds as your chariots and ride on the wings of the wind.
You set the earth firmly on its foundations, and it will never be moved. You place the ocean over it like a robe, and the water cover the mountains. You make springs flow in the valleys, rivers run between the hills. They provide water for the wild animals. There the wild donkeys quench their thirst. In the trees nearby, the birds make their nests and sing.
From the sky, you send rain on the hills. On the earth is filled with your blessings. You make grass grow for the cattle and plants for human beings to use, so they can grow their crops and produce wine to make them happy, and olive oil to make them cheerful, and bread to give them strength. You make the night, and in the darkness, all the wild animals come out. The young lions roar while they hunt, looking for food that God has provided. When the sun rises, they go back and lie down in their dens. Then people go out to work till evening.
May the glory of the Lord last forever. May the Lord be happy with what he has made. I will sing to the Lord all my life. As long as I live, I will sing praises to my God. May he be pleased with my song, for my gladness comes from him.
Essentially beautiful, we are created in the image of God. And so we reflect the beauty and goodness of our God. Creation sings of his beauty. Just look up at the sky, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Give us the music to sing. The trees in the forest, the mountains, the hills, and the plains. The colors of the flowers around are singing of the beauty of God. I look into the eyes of my neighbor. They tell me God is love. When we share his love and his joy, we reflect the beauty of God. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Alfonso, for leading us into prayer in the Laudato Si way. Greetings to all the participants gathered here today. I am Father Roy Thomas SVD, a Divine Word missionary from India, now working as the co-executive secretary of the office of JPIC Roma in Rome. I'm extremely happy to introduce Dr. John Mundell. John Mundell is the global director of for the Pope Francis Laudato Si Action Platform. He has a BS, MS, and a doctorate in civil engineering. A senior environmental consultant from Indiana, but works worldwide. His journey towards integral ecology began when he was 13 years old, and he participated in the first Earth Day in 1970, helping to clean the streets of rubbish. Over the past 40 years, he has worked on thousands of projects around the world, including the investigation and remediation of hundreds of industrial sites, rivers, and lakes that had been damaged by industrialization. Mundell worked with the Vatican's dicastery for promoting integral human development and the Laudato Si movement to develop the idea of the Laudato Si Action Platform. Under the able leadership of John Mundell, the message of Pope Francis through the Laudato Si Action Platform has reached millions of people, communities, and groups worldwide. We are fortunate to have Dr. John Mundell with us today. I cordially welcome John Mundell for the keynote address. Hearty welcome, Mr. John.
Well, good day, everyone. It is so good to be here today, to be with everyone. First of all, I would like to start with this the slide that I have here as a reminder to all of us that what we were doing is taking care of our common home. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about becoming that one mighty flowing river of peace and justice, transforming our hearts, our lifestyles, and policies for our common good. I think many of you know already by now the theme of the 2023 season of creation is let justice flow on like a river, righteousness like a never failing stream. This theme has a personal meaning for me. I've spent my entire environmental career studying rivers and their impact and usefulness for our environment. Everything from how much water flows in them, to the floods that they contribute to the pollution that is discharged into them by various companies and cities, to the quality of water necessary for maintaining an abundant life and safe water supplies. Rivers are truly like the arteries of the body, circulating throughout all areas to distribute oxygen, life, and nourishment to our very thirsty planet. In fact, Pope Francis's reflection on the season of creation theme uses many images of water and metaphors for rivers in speaking about the need to maintain a right relationship with God, with humanity, and nature. He also illustrates the need for justice by pointing out what is happening as a result of climate change and overdevelopment. Rivers drying up, droughts and water shortages, a real disruption of the planet's water cycle. However, my favorite analogy that I like that he's used is reserved for something very positive. The contribution we can make to heal our common home happens when we come together like so many streams, brooks, and rivulets, merging finally in a mighty river to irrigate the life of our marvelous planet and our human family for generations to come. In other words, this can happen when we act like rivers. When we begin to discover how much like rivers we can be, we begin to take in the lessons that rivers can teach us about harmonizing our heartbeats to the heartbeat of creation and to the heartbeat of God. Emulating their behavior also shows us how to support the ecological conversion of the Catholic Church in the world. Two quotes from poems I have enjoyed are especially relevant to our reflection today. Rivers accept things as they are, conform to the shape they find the world in. Yet nothing changes things more than rivers. Rivers move even mountains into the sea. Another poem. I thought how lovely and how strange a river is. A river is a river, always there, and yet the water flowing through it is never the same water and is never still. It's always changing and is always on the move. And over time, the river itself changes too. It widens and deepens as it rubs and scours. It rubs and scours, gnaws and kneads, eats and bores its way through the land. Will the I that is me grow and widen and deepen? Or will I stagnate and become an arid riverbed? Will I allow people to dam me up and confine me to a wall so that I flow only where they want? Will I allow them to turn me into a canal to use for their own purposes? Or will I make sure I flow freely, coursing my way through the land and plowing a valley of my own? Well, how have we acted positively like a river during this past year as a participant in the Laudato Si Action platform? Perhaps completing a short examination of conscience can help us answer this question. Is the water of action in my stream flowing continuously and strong, or is the flow intermittent, stagnant, or dried up? Have I carved my own path of action with enough energy and passion to begin to widen and deepen my impacts? Or have I allowed my actions to be constrained by my own inertia or the attitudes of those around me? Have I continued to act individually as a quiet and single tiny stream? Or have I made an effort to combine my waters of action with other nearby streams to create a larger river? So having done an examination of conscience and a confession of our environmental shortcomings, we might consider what kind of specific penance would be appropriate for those who need it. I'm not a priest, but here are 3 ideas of concrete action that you can take. Sign on to the Laudato Si Action platform. You can go to the website, laudatosiactionplatform.org, and start getting communications, attending webinars, and becoming part of the growing global community. By the end of our 2nd year of operation of the platform, we'll have over 8,000 registered sector participants, representing more than 15 million people that could potentially be impacted by the platform if actions are carried out. You know, this includes about 540 religious congregations and 560 religious communities. That's good news. Our combined streams are beginning to form a mighty river. Second piece of penance is to submit a Laudato Si reflection and action plan. Our credibility to the world as a church grows as our rivers are flowing with action and we walk the walk of Laudato Si. The digital platform and community are formal and concrete ways of making that happen by encouraging and tracking progress on specific actions and demonstrating progress towards caring for our common home. When should we do this? Well, our combined streams need more flowing water now. Of the 8,000 participants signed on to the platform, less than 5% have actually submitted a Laudato Si reflection or plan targeting specific Laudato Si goals during the last year. It's a little bit, not stagnant water, but very slow flowing water. The religious congregations, however, and the community sectors have done much better than the overall average, with about 13% of the participants completing submissions. You know, what I want to remind everyone is it's not necessary to have a long, lengthy, and extensive Laudato Si reflection and plan, but something that is realistic and begins your journey to a more sustainable lifestyle and gives witness to action. If you can do that in a single page, God bless you, as long as you put it into action. The third piece of the penance, become part of the active global Laudato Si Action Platform community. Getting to know others involved in the platform, working groups in various sectors, whether they're the dioceses or the parishes, universities or schools, which I know many of you are involved in, is a great way to help build a mighty river that can have real impact. So you are especially encouraged to spread the message of Laudato Si wherever you are and in whatever ministry or work you are already involved in, so that the awareness grows and its visibility encourages progress toward the ecological conversion the world needs. And I want to stress the word visibility. Sometimes I think our religious communities are doing many good things, but they are not as visible as the world needs to see. So I encourage you to be very visible. So let justice and peace flow on like a river, not as a separate thing from us, but through our lives and our actions. And may the words of the well-known American conservationist John Muir be a guide to that journey. He said, "The sun shines not on us, but in us. The rivers flow not past, but through us." Thank you for allowing me to share this brief message this morning on the season of creation and our desire to become a mighty river that flows. Thank you.
Thank you, John Mundell, for elaborating on the theme for 2023 season of creation. Let justice flow on like a river. Thanks also for throwing light on the positive lessons the rivers can teach us and how we can put those into practice as religious men and women in caring for our common home. John is going to be with us today, though he is busy. We'll listen to him a little later. I am privileged to introduce the main speaker of the webinar today, Father S. Vincent Anastasia, CMF. He is a Claretian missionary from Tamil Nadu, India. In the past, he had been working in the realm of eradication of female infanticide, empowerment of LGBTQIA, the education of the tribal and Dalits, promotion of alternative indigenous health systems and practice, promotion of contemplative meditative practices. Father Vincent had been in the animation service of the Chennai province of Claretian missionaries from 2000 to 2016. Since 2016, he serves as the General Secretary for Justice, Peace and Integrity of Creation of his congregation. Father Vincent has licentiate and doctorate specializations on the fishery resources and fisherfolk. We are happy to have Father Vincent with us, who will enlighten us on the topic, Integral Ecology in Religious Life and Mission. A hearty welcome to Father Vincent.
Thank you. So thank you very much. As already John Mundale has said, the river of life is flowing, and we need to become part of it because the life is all embracing. We are all connected. And if our actions have to be visible also, to be counted. Therefore, we need to join the Laudato Si action platform and do the journey. So this will be the main content of today's presentation. Maybe as a summary, I want to say that everything is created by God. We know that. If everything is created by God, in all of us there is God. There is DNA of God. Therefore, if a plant suffers, if a butterfly suffers, if an animal suffers, we all suffer together. Therefore, we need to share life and love with all forms of life. Only when all forms of life live, our life becomes complete. As we know, the Bible begins saying, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That means God has created everything. And let's make humans in our own image, according to our likeness. That means humans are made in the image and likeness of God. Therefore, there is DNA of God in us. As we know, atom is the basic element which constitutes all things in the world, all life in the world. When we look at the composition of the atom, there is a nucleus, which is a liquid, in simple term, water, a liquid. And inside the liquid, there is proton, there is energy, there is a neutron. So there is proton, neutron in the liquid, and electron is hovering over it, running over it, running around it. In this background, when we read the Bible, it says, the earth was formless. The Spirit of God, maybe proton, was hovering over the water's nucleus, hovering over the proton and neutron. Therefore, the basic element resembles triune God. Therefore, everything that is made resembles God and bears the DNA of God. That's why when the first nuclear detonation was done by Enrico Fermi in 1942, they were surprised to see the triune God into the atom. Therefore, they named it as Trinity. It is this atom that makes the trees, makes the animals, and makes the humans. We all bear the image of God. You can see this tree. See, there is a river. The river is the flowing river, is the theme of the season of creation. There is a river. The tree is turning towards the river. How is it possible? The tree is turning towards the river. The experiments have been done. They have excavated the root of the tree and saw the roots are also towards the river. And the branches are also towards the river. There is one biologist, Monica Gagliana. Through her experiment, she says, the plants can hear like human persons. The tree hears the sound of the water flowing and leans towards it and sends the river's roots towards it. Therefore, the plants hear like us. Also, they have pain sensation like us. There was another experiment by Monica Burnellen and Professor Edgar Wagner. Through their experiment, they say, as we have pain sensation passed to the brain through nerve signals, the plants also pass the pain signals through electrical signal. We should watch this video. Therefore, we know the animals shares the sensation of hearing and sensation of pain. Also, they have cognitive power, brain power. It is said, if someone is able to recognize one's own reflection in the mirror, it's a cognitive power. They say the monkey has this cognitive power. Therefore, all are coming from God, and all of us, atoms, plants, animals, human, we all share the image of God. Therefore, when all of us have life, our life and love becomes complete. That's what Francis of Assisi says. God requires that we assist the animals with the need of our help. Each being has the same right to protection. Laudato Si, the encyclical of Pope Francis, declares that every being, every form of life is from God, and we need to recognize this and promote this. As we have heard these days, Pope Francis is going to write the second part of the Laudato Si. And many of us have heard about Laudato Si, and only some of us would have read this. Therefore, I'd like to present, in summary, the content of Laudato Si. So, Laudato Si has 5 chapters, and these 5 chapters are arranged according to the pastoral cycle of See, Judge, Act. So this is the Catholic social analysis method. See means seeing around what's happening. Judging means reflecting this happening in the light of a faith, light of the Bible, light of the social teachings of the church. And act means what we can do, what actions we can initiate. Accordingly, Chapter 1 reviews what's happening to our common home. Chapter 2 reflects on the things that are happening around our common home in the light of the Catholic faith, gospel of creation. It also reflects from the perspective of human, how the human have created this. And from the perspective of integral ecology, how the integral ecology is not present today. So reflection is done from gospel of creation, human roots of ecological crisis, and integral ecology. And the 5th chapter is action. What we can do globally as a global community. And sixth chapter, what we can do personally, especially at the level of education and spirituality. This is how there are 6 chapters of Laudato Si organized. The first chapter, what's happening to our common home? There is pollution. Pope says there is immense pile of filth on the face of the earth. There is climate change. You see this picture of Statue of Liberty. Statue of Liberty before the climate change and after climate change. And because of global warming, the Liberty statue has dropped to the clothes. So there is issue of water shortage. To have a drinkable, safe water is a human right. All should be able to have. But water becomes a rare product today. There is loss of biodiversity. That means many forms of life have disappeared. We know that. Because of the mode of production, the mode of agriculture, there is loss of biodiversity. When they want to start an industry, they have to do environmental impact assessment, EIA. While doing the EIA, they take only the impact of this industry on the soil, water, and the air. So far, its impact on the other forms of life, like earthworm, butterfly, they are not counted. Therefore, it has to be done. There is decline of quality of human life. The cities have become unlivable places. Some places of the cities and the beaches, they are privatized. Therefore, people do not have access to this. All of us are using cell phones so much. We get so much of information. As we see the pollution outside, absorbing all this, there is mental pollution. And there is also global inequality. The rich people are becoming richer. The poor are becoming poorer. The rich nations, the nations with technology, they're putting out carbon. As a result, the poor people suffer. Therefore, Laudato Si says, there is a true ecological debt. The countries which are using or putting out more carbon, they have a debt towards the poor countries, poor people. The people who are traveling more by the aeroplanes, they have a debt towards the poor people who go on foot. Now, when there is such a global crisis happening, our response has been very, very poor. Therefore, henceforth, there will be wars to occupy the resources, the natural resources. So this is what's happening. Now, how do we see this? How do we analyze this? From the perspective of Christian revelation, we see God created everything and he found it good, intrinsically good. Humans are created not to destroy it, exploit this, but responsibly to use it, to be the stewards of creation. Because God is intimately present to each being, as we saw at the beginning of the presentation. God is present in each being. Now, when we go to heaven, it's not only we go, we are moving with all forms of life together. Even if an ant is left out in our journey towards heaven, the heaven will remain incomplete. Therefore, Pope says, all creatures are moving forward with us towards God. Therefore, unless we save all the forms of life, our heaven will be incomplete. Therefore, we are all knit together and we have to save each other. And then another way of looking at this global crisis is how the human persons have caused this. The human have technology, and they are using the technology mainly to exploit the natural resources. Natural resources are seen as objects to be exploited. And they're using the technology for maximization of profit, not for survival. But after having destroyed the earth, planet Earth with technology, Pope says very clearly, you cannot remedy with the technology. You cannot recreate the nature by technology. For example, now the global temperature is increasing. There are some engineers, geoengineers, who say we can cool the planet, or with the machine's help, we can absorb, suck the carbon from the atmosphere, which is not possible and which is not sustainable. Therefore, we have to safeguard the planet Earth. There is anthropocentrism. Anthropocentrism means some person or things are useful as long as they're useful to human persons. If they're not directly useful to the human persons, if you do not know that a butterfly or a mosquito is not useful to the human persons, we destroy this. So this one, anthropocentrism. The human brain cannot accept or understand the usefulness of all forms of human beings. Therefore, we cannot be anthropocentric, but rather we need to be biocentric, life-centric. There is genetic manipulation done on the plants, on the animals, which is not good. When you want to do cultivation using the genetically modified seeds, then they acquire all the people's land. The land is concentrated in the few people's hand. Vast majority of people become poor. Therefore, these are the human ways through which we have contributed to the global ecological crisis. We can watch this video. Therefore, the humans have contributed towards ecological crisis. The third aspect of reflecting on this global ecological changes from integral ecology. The first aspect of integral ecology is environmental ecology. That is, everything is connected. the human and the animals and the plants, we share a greater part of same genetic code. The second aspect in integral ecology is economic ecology. That means while producing, we should not destroy. The third is social ecology. The society's institutions like schools, family, universities, parishes should promote human life and environmental life. Cultural ecology, that means human cultures, especially those of indigenous cultures, have to be protected. Human ecology, human needs a qualitative life. If there is poverty, homelessness, if people are sleeping on the road, there is lack of human ecology. Then the sixth aspect of integral ecology is principle of common good and universal destination of good. Principle of common good and universal destination of goods means all the things that are created on earth for everybody. It has to help everybody to grow together equally. And the seventh aspect is justice between the generations. That means this planet Earth is not only for us, it's for the future generation also. So these are 7 aspects of integral ecology. And today when we see the Earth, all these 7 are being challenged. So after having done a reflection, a judging on the global situation, Pope goes on to propose actions. Actions in 2 levels. Chapter 5 speaks about global actions. Globally, there has to be a consensus, policies towards diversified agriculture, renewable and less polluting energy, better management of marine and forest resources, and to ensure universal access to drinking water. So towards this, we need a global policy, which we do not have now. And similarly, to be at the level of the nations and at the level of the local communities. So this is second dialogue. The third one is when there is EIA being done, environment impact assessment. So for the scientists are being involved. No. The local people have to be involved, and the results of it should be made known to them. And in the decision making, they should participate whether this industry can be started. So dialogue on this. And the dialogue between politics and economy. So politics and economy have to be for the people on the planet. But today, unfortunately, the big business companies, transnational companies, they have more power and control over the poor nations, over the political bodies of the nations, which is not good. And there has to be dialogue between religion and science. Most of the people of the planet are believers in one way or the other. Therefore, these believers should also have a dialogue with the science so that we are able to influence the globe. So after having done these, the type of dialogues, Pope goes on to say, and this knowledge of ours have to become practice. We may know many things, but thing is, we have to adopt small habits, practices that would change our life and the life of the universe. The first change he says, we should not be consumeristic. That means not buying because of the need, because of the want. I want, and I want. This should not be. We have to change from this. We need to have new habits, like avoiding single-use plastic, economically using paper. And Pope says these have to be taught and practiced in our seminaries, in our formation houses, in our parishes, and in our universities. And we need to have interior conversion. Internally, we are having deserts, and that's why we are creating desert outside. Therefore, we need to have interior conversion. We need to become spiritual persons. And we need to do every day a small act of love towards the other person. And we need to work for peace. And we need to respect the sacraments because God is present in every form of life. Therefore, every form of life, a leaf also a sacrament. The Sabbath is not only for us to rest, but also for allowing rest for all other forms of life. Therefore, love, sacraments, and Sabbath has to be part of our life. And Pope says, each creature bear the image of Trinity, as we already seen. Mary, the mother of Jesus and mother of the apostles, mother of the church, becomes mother of the wounded planet, crying for it and work with it. Now, with this presentation of the Laudato Si summary, I want to move on to the Laudato Si goals on which we need to make plans. While I'm changing the slide, I ask you to think personally and note down what's happening in me after having listened to Laudato Si. What's happening in me after having known very scientifically that all forms of life bear the image of Trinity. If you are in a group somewhere, you can share it with your neighbor or write down in a paper which can help you for making the plans. Now we are going to see Laudato Si goals, how they have come into and what are they, how to make a plan with them, and then how to travel with the Laudato Si action platform. On the 5th anniversary of Laudato Si, Pope Francis invited the church and the global community to live the values of Laudato Si. Therefore, the Care for Creation section of Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development and Laudato Si movement, they jointly planned together and then initiated Laudato Si action platform. Towards this, they identified 7 goals from the Laudato Si and from the Bible. So these goals are not coming from the imagination of the Dicastery and Laudato Si movement, but from Laudato Si itself. We will see it more in the course of time. But now, just to mention, the first goal is the cry of the earth. As we know, the earth is crying. The cry of the poor, along with that, the poor are crying. Therefore, we need to respond to them. As a response, we need to develop ecological economy. That means production without a destruction. And then we need to have sustainable lifestyle, non-consumeristic lifestyle. You see, what we saw in Laudato Si is continuing in these goals. And we need to have ecological education. Pope has spoken about it in the 6th chapter. Ecological spirituality, he has spoken it. And then We need to do all these 6, not only at the personal level, but along with other people, with the global community, in network with others, so that we are able to involve in advocacy and campaign. So 6 goals for our life, and how to do it, personal life and together. That's the 7th goal. Also, they say these have to be practiced in 7 sectors within the church. The basic is family. So families can make a small plan how to live these. Parish and dioceses, each parish need to have. Many of the parishes are run by the religious, and we need to have this. And educational institutions need to have a plan how to live these. We have schools and the universities as religious. And the hospitals and healthcare centers. Again, we have. But do we have this plan? An economic sector, some of us are also producing something. But do we have the ecological economy in our production centers? And with the other NGOs, and specifically among the religious orders. When we say religious orders, I as an individual religious, I need to have a plan. My community need to have a plan. My congregation need to have a plan. So these 7 values have to be lived by these 7 sectors. Now, as Mundell has already said, also as Mama Lifar has said, to initiate a change, we need to have at least 3.5% of participants. So within the church, we are having 1.3 billion Catholics. But we are very sad to hear from Mundell, there are only 8,000 people traveling along with the Laudato Si Action platform. So to make a change within the church, ecological change, we need to still increase the practitioners. And only when we register ourselves with the Laudato Si Action platform, we will be counted. It's not enough that we close our door and pray. For prayer, it is okay. But for ecological change that is taking place outside, we need to be visible, as Mandel said. Therefore, we need to make plans and join the river of the Laudato Si Action platform, and so to the world that we are making changes. To initiate a change, we need 3.5% of practitioners. To make an effective change, we need to have 21 to 25% of practitioners. Our aim is to do this within the church and so to the world that we can, so that the other people in solidarity will join us. There will be eventually 3.5% of the world population. We are having 7.3 billion people. So 3.5% of the world population will practice. Eventually it will become 25%, and there will be ecological change take place in the world. Therefore, we need to make plan on the Laudato Si goals and then join the action platform. Now, as I go through the 7 goals, I'll also give you the suggestions. These suggestions are coming from the Clarion family. We did, among the Clarion family, a survey on the Laudato Si goals, what they are doing and what they want to do. So I put them all collected together and make it available to you as suggestions. You need not follow them, but they can serve as an inspiration. Now, before starting, I request you to make a small drawing like this in your paper. Laudato Si goals 1, 2, 3, 5, and relate to that what you want to do personally, what you want to do in your community, and what you want to do in an apostolate, the parish, in the school, in your health sector or economic sector. Okay, so make a line like this. As you go through, if you have something that appeals to you, just jot down, which can help you to make a plan. The first goal is, as we have said, cry of the earth. It means the planet Earth is suffering, it's crying. It's very well made known in chapter 1 of the Laudato Si. And this cry we also see from the Bible. The earth mourns and withers. The world languishes and withers. The earth lies defiled under its inhabitants. We are trampled over them. Isaiah 24, 4-5. Laudato Si also says there's an urgent need to develop policies so that in the next few years, the emission of carbon dioxide and other highly polluting gases can be drastically reduced. For example, substituting for fossil fuels and developing sources of renewable energy. What I want to say is, when you want to make a plan like this for goal number 1, you need to think it is not coming from simply secular world, scientific world. It comes from the Bible. It comes from the social teachings of the church. Also add what your charism says, what your founder is saying, what your chapters you have said about this. Now, related to the respond to the cry of the poor, cry of the earth, promote organic agriculture, organic animal husbandry, promote native birds and animals, and celebrate Ecological Week, in which we know about ecology. If there are polluting in projects and industries in your areas, oppose them. Mining, land grabbing, agribusiness, oppose them. Promote planting of trees and native plants. Promote renewable energy as much as possible. Defend water as a basic human right. If water is sold, oppose this. Promote care for the lakes, rivers, and oceans. The second goal is cry of the poor. It means when the earth cries, the poor are the ones who are being affected. And this is also comes from the Bible and from the Laudato Si. For example, the Bible says, God hears the cry of the needy people. Also add to this your own charism. Now, what can we do to respond to the cry of the poor? Promote education among the poor, the women, transgender people. Create livelihood opportunities for the marginalized people. This is very important. Share the facilities of the communities to the poor. I speak from Rome. Most of us have big religious houses, hardly used. On the other hand, hardly a poor come and knocks at our door asking for ask for the food. That means I understand the poor people are convinced that the religious will not help the poor. They will only preach, or they will act through institutions. Create a carbon fund. Most of the religious are flying. And because of the carbon emitted by us, the poor people are suffering. Therefore, congregations need to have a carbon fund. Whenever you take up a travel, add some money there to the fund. Use that fund for the development of the poor, for promotion of the ecology. Work against corruption, which is the principal cause of poverty. The third value is ecological economics, which means you can produce without destroying. Again, it comes from the Bible and from social teachings of the church, and add from your founder. Now, what we can do towards ecological economy? Purchase locally produced goods, not the imported ones. If a product imported from USA is selling in Nigerian market, don't buy that. Not because we don't want the USA produced goods, because being imported. And there is carbon emission. And if we are buying locally produced food, the local people get job opportunity. Buy from the local market and purchase fair trade goods. That means the goods which have paid taxes to the government. Promote green, sustainable constructions. When you construct the building, churches, avoid the red listed building materials like asbestos, PVC, chlorofluorocarbons. Use recycling wood, recycled bricks. Do rainwater harvesting in the building. Create passage for the animals to pass through the campus. Don't close the campus completely. Your frog cannot go through. They have the right to pass through our campus. Make necessary arrangements for the bees and bats to make their nest there. Limit the consumption of non-renewable energy. Go for renewable energy. Similarly, if we all have our investment in the bank, ask the banker for what our money is being used. So to ensure that it has to be ethical investment. The sixth goal is sustainable lifestyle. That I need to have habits which will make my life sustainable and the earth sustainable. And about this, the Bible speaks. A pretentious, showy life is an empty life. If you have 10 shirts, if you have 20 shoes, this is empty life. A plain and simple life is a full of life. So Bible speaks about it. Laudato Si speaks about it. What's the founder saying about this? Add them also. So what can we do to make our life sustainable? Not to waste food. We should not waste food. Economic use of water, energy, plastic, paper, cosmetics, body sprays. Whenever you spray the body sprays, it affects the environment. Separate collection and disposal of domestic waste. Using public transport as much as possible. Once you become religious, we presume that we should not use common transport. Many people are using their own transport. If you are using, create a carbon fund to pay for the poor and for the environment. Follow more alternative methods of health. When you are taking more and more chemical drugs, you are defecating, urinating, where these chemical ends up? In the fumes. Therefore, by taking more chemical drugs, we are spoiling our body health and the environmental health. Therefore, as much as possible, go for herbal health, alternative methods of health, and plant-based diet. I'm not totally against eating meat. The process of life is we eat the plants and the animals, and when we die, they eat us. But at the same time, we cannot destroy unnecessarily. As much as possible, go for plant-based diet. Observe media fasting. When media fasting means not to use the internet, not use the telephone, not use the computer, so that there is less carbon emission. As Pope says, when there is more pollution outside, we have mental pollution. To safeguard ourselves from mental pollution. The sixth one is ecological education. The Bible speaks about it, and we need to also learn about this. Perhaps we need to read the Bible from ecological perspective. Study the social encyclicals of the church. There are 21 social encyclicals, beginning from Rerum Novarum till Fratelli Tutti. The 22nd one is Pope is writing now. Read them from with the ecological eyes. Include ecological subjects in catechism, in our schools, universities, and our formation centers. We need to study about the environmental laws of the country where we are. Also, environmental laws of the United Nations, because the United Nations and we together need to promote the environmental rights. The sixth one is ecological spirituality. It means there is spiritual connection. We all share the DNA of God. We all bear the image of the Trinity. So what we can do? Learn and practice contemplative meditations. It can be Asian, it can be European, it can be Catholic, but it has to be contemplative methods. It is through contemplation we can experience that there is God in me, cosmos in me, poor are in me, the all forms of life in me, and I am present in them. Only when we have this experience, then we will go voluntarily to help to save the other forms of life. And prepare liturgical materials of ecological spirituality. Very important, not to use genetically modified plants in our chapels. Most of our chapels have genetically modified plants. God created the plants not inside the buildings, inside the chapel, outside. That's what we read in the Bible. But we have genetically modified them and put them into the chapels. Do not cut the tree branches for decorating the churches. Do not use plastics for decorations. Also develop a consciousness. Any form of sin against the environment is sin against God and cosmos and the people. The seventh one is involve with others in doing advocacy and campaign. What type of advocacy we can take in? We can work for the rights of the political migrants, climate migrants. Church is the only one which is speaking about climate migrants. The UN does not accept the people who are migrant due to climate as a refugees. But the church is speaking about it. The church demands the right given to the political migrants. Advocate the rights of indigenous people, gender minorities, LGBTQIA, and advocate for family wage. The wage that is given to a person should be sufficient for the family. And advocate against state corruption, against extractive companies. Like this, we can join network others, advocate for and advocate against. Now, what is next? We can prepare a plan on these 7 goals. What I can do personally, what I want to do in my community and as a congregation. For a model, just want to show this plan. This is my personal plan, which I have prepared, which I have uploaded in the Laudato Si action platform. So the thing is, you have the Laudato Si goals, what actions I want to do, time frame when I want to do, the time for evaluation, and expected results. So like this, you make a plan. And then go into Laudato Si action platform and enter it. Now, I request Mondale to explain to us how to use the Laudato Si action platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father Vincent. Wow, you are sure a powerhouse for environmental and creation care action. Thank you for sharing, summarizing Laudato Si, summarizing the goals, and showing your own personal plan. That's tremendous. Let me go ahead and bring up the screen here to just talk a little bit, just very briefly about the platform itself. Can you hear me? Am I okay? Just to make sure I'm.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, very good. I just want to go through a few basic steps because over this next month, there'll be some changes in the platform that that have been in the works for some time, some programming adjustments, but some things will remain the same for a while. But this is the encouragement to go to the Laudato Si action platform page. It's available in 9 languages. Right now, we may drop off the last 2 because we only have so many resources and we're trying to keep up with everything, but at least right now it's in 9 different languages. And simply the first action for those who are on this call, or if you know of someone in other religious communities or congregations who haven't signed up, go to the platform to sign up. There's an enrollment page, which kind of looks like this at the present time. And you simply click there. You then have different sections of the platform that talk about the platform, the community aspects, events, the goals, and lots of resources. One thing we're doing is we're going to be simplifying some things so that people aren't overwhelmed by the amount of information on this website. It's a tremendous resource, but what's important is not to become overwhelmed, to realize that even your very simple effort to sign up to become in communication with those on the platform and to be inspired and make a simple plan is enough. This is a multi-year process. You don't have to boil the ocean in 1 year. You can take a little sip of the ocean, move forward on your journey, and begin the process. One thing will highlight here, the enrollment process simply asks for some very basic information, the language, some information on your country, your organization name, and a password. And you have the option to share or not with other people. If you want to share your information or have you listed as a participant, your congregation and your community, we encourage you to, because it inspires others to do that. So some very basic information that's required. How to sign up. As Father said, there are many times we've had religious sign up as individuals when their congregations or their communities weren't ready to. And so down here on the bottom here, where it says religious congregations, we have the religious orders, the provinces, and the institutes sign up under that category. The religious local communities are the small local religious communities, individual communities where you can put together your own kind of local plans. So you may also be involved in helping parishes sign up. You may be even at the diocesan level, some of you. Schools, we've had classrooms sign up of schools, we've had the school principals sign up, universities as well. So you're involved in a lot of these sectors, but as you can see, our mighty river of the religious congregations communities is substantial, and they've at least become involved in communications that are flowing through the platform. So once you've signed up, then what's happening in about 2 weeks, we are revising what's called the personal dashboard, which when you go to the platform, you'll be able to hit personal dashboard and be able to have your information come up that's relevant for you, such as suggested actions that you can take, that you can click off and decide what to do. You can also, two things that we ask of you to try to do is a reflection on how the Laudato Si goals mesh with your own values or your own charism, and a Laudato Si plan, as Father had said. Many of you have, I'd say 5%, well, 12% or so, 13% have submitted reflections and plans. Don't be overwhelmed by this step. It can be very simple, as Father has pointed out, showing you his plan. I want to show you one example from my own religious community, the Focolare movement, about how we made this simple for the local communities. This is a page, simply what I would call the refrigerator Laudato Si plan example, where it's simple. You can put it on your refrigerator. You can consult it daily. You have to maybe select things that are doable, that are good for the long term, and that are repetitive. Every day you can do a little bit to that goal. You can also set this up to change every month and put it on your refrigerator to be able to check off a few focused activities that you're going to focus on. And then in this particular case, as all of you have your own charisms, this example has the action steps on the right that are put under each of the charisms or the spirituality points, and those align with the various Laudato Si goals. But you're able to check off this and put a couple check marks and say, this is the focus for this month. I only show this, as Father has shown his, as a way of simplifying so that we can get in the rhythm of, this is all about small changes that lead to permanent changes that lead to bigger changes when we coalesce all of our efforts together. So I just want to show you that you can in another 2 weeks, you'll be able to load up new plans and have multiple plans, and also change your plan throughout the year as well. So the programming is being finished on that, and want to encourage you again to put your toe in the water in our our major stream, our major river, to kind of put in a reflection, which can be very short, and a plan. That means this gives, again, hope for everyone participating, to show encourage the rest of the church and the rest of the world to participate. I'll leave this final slide that I just want to say, I like this slide by Richard Rohr, a Franciscan, who says, we do not think ourselves into new ways of living. We live ourselves into new ways of thinking. Well, we've been thinking about Laudato Si for lots of years, right? But it's time we begin to live ourselves into new ways of thinking. And that means daily actions that lead to change. All right, I think that's it for me, and I'll sign off on that one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John and Father Vincent, for these amazing presentations, and also for bringing us again back to the reality of the Laudato Si and how we can go together and journey together towards integral ecology, and not only praying and thinking that we are doing our small things, but that we can act all together in our daily lives, but also as a community. So right now we will give some minutes to the interpreters, because it was really tough for them, I think, a long talk. So we will give them a short time. And in the meantime, you can write your questions or comments that you want to ask Father Vincent or John or Sister Mamalifra and Father Roy. So please feel free to put in the chat box. So thank you so much. Thank you for your comments. I don't know, here we have a question from Sister or Linda. She is asking, I uploaded a reflection and a plan recently for my community, the congregation sector she refers to, and I do not see it. How long it is before I will be able to see it on the platform? This is for John.
And I'm not whether I'm the director of the platform. Behind me, there's a great group of people that support the platform. Maureen, who's in charge of the sectors and the sector engagements, who is often the direct kind of conduit for questions on when will I see things and how the things work. So I would recommend that you send a note either to the platform, which usually gets answered by email, and just ask when. It doesn't happen immediately. It's usually, I think, within a week, but Maureen would be able to check to make sure things went well and that she can see that you have loaded that up. Again, we have been with the individual dashboards, we are ready to kind of roll out in the next couple of weeks, kind of a new dashboard. So who knows, maybe in that transition, I can't tell you if things got, put aside or whatever, but we can follow up with that, but usually fairly short. Maureen, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure. As you mentioned, John, it will take around 1 week to be reviewed, but also it might be related if you agree to share it publicly, because if you agree to be private, then the plan or the reflection won't be available on the website. But I will share our Gmail so that people can share with us any specific request, and I will be following up to any of the needs on the technical part.
Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Maureen, and thank you, John. I don't know if there are other questions regarding the Laudato Si Action platform, or maybe also that you want to ask Father Vincent.
Catalina,
Yes.
there's Sister Elizabeth asking,
Yes.
how can we do this in our schools, since they have schools? So I thought just to share a little, we can involve the children in maintaining the campus, its cleanliness, plants, on water usage, educating the children not to throw the waste on the road, but carry it and segregate in the homes. And then also teaching them about integral ecology, how we are all connected, how the plants have life, animals have life. This type of sensitivity we can help them to grow with, which can eventually bear fruit.
Father, let me add on to that too. We have more than 1,000 schools signed up around the globe to the platform, with lots and lots of resources that are on the platform, that if you do some searches, you'll get lots of great ideas. And encourage your school to sign up as well, so it becomes part of that sector. But I think I've seen the impact of religious participation in schools, tremendous impact, and that's where we plant the seeds for the future, right? So I would encourage you to sign up as a school, but as Father said, begin that process of planting the seeds for education, spirituality, spiritual formation, and action around the schools. And sometimes it involves how schools run their activities, whether they, how they purchase things. So there are a number of ways schools are participating, but again, we have a great, mighty river of schools out there as well.
I would like to say also that if you go to the Sowing Hope for the Planet website, there are many examples of what children in schools can do. And that can help you see what you can do in your school. And secondly, as John and Vincent have said, there are many things in our daily lives that we can educate the children not to do. For example, buy things that are wrapped in plastics. Is it possible to avoid that? Because that is one of the biggest problems that we have. And educate them to understand why they should not buy things that are wrapped in plastic. Because if they understand, then there will be consequences and they'll be able to accept them. And that is the only way we can move forward together.
One thing I'll add, since we're on the topic of schools, and I think of our whole consumeristic mentality, right? We have to have new things. We have to purchase again and again. we've had a few schools practice the concept of a communion of goods, where they bring things to school and some child doesn't need a toy or something else they have, and they put it in the pool of goods to be shared with whoever would like to take that. I think that's a great way of demonstrating that we aren't always, even though we can afford it, many schools can afford things like this, but the practice of voluntary poverty and communion of goods was a great example I saw recently.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your answers. A last question regards the financial support of projects that are promoting the Laudato Si goals. So if you have any idea about it.
I like the fact that that's been raised because it helps me to raise it to other people about financial support. We have had a few communities that have a few religious communities, probably not even a few, that have provided financial support for projects. I know of one community, I know of my own religious community, the Folklore movement, who supplied 15 seed-funded projects globally with small grants of €1,000 each to begin this kind of process. I think that's so important. And I just would ask you, if you have a need, go ahead and express it. All I can do is bring that need up and say, listen, if we have more financial support, we can springboard some of these projects that may help around the world. And I have seen lots of positive things come from those because we've engaged the next generation. We've planted the seeds for action locally with small projects and that have inspired other people. So I'm glad that you're asking. If you have ideas, send them to the platform. I'll be happy to coalesce those and we'll see what we can do with funding. I think it's an important part of springboarding this in the church. I also would ask that you maybe ask your diocese occasionally that you would like funding for this. And that's how the bishops begin to hear the need and the desire to move this project forward. So that's a good thing as well. But please feel free to continue to ask.
There is one question from Lawrence. They are saying
Yes.
the G20 has failed to address this global warming. How can we put pressure? Maybe anyone can answer on this.
Well, let me tell you something that's happening that we're thinking about with the platform. There's a COP meeting coming up in December for the first 2 weeks of December. What can we in the platform do? We're encouraging, and we've talked to each of the working groups we have for each of the sectors. We're encouraging the 2 weeks before the COP meetings for each sector and the participants of the platform to do something visible, to do something that shows some kind of visibility or action and concern about the need for international policies. And that can take many forms. If it's schools, it may take one form. If it's businesses, it may take another. If it's religious communities, I think we need to be more visible, and that can come in terms of walks, marches. It can be special projects, but somehow in those 2 weeks prior to the COP, we're hoping that we can generate a lot of visibility and concern. That can also mean writing letters to your local representatives in your countries, because by that time they get to the COP, they probably have their marching orders, but people feel somewhat uncomfortable sometimes to practice Laudato Si goal number 7, which is community engagement, resiliency, participatory action. Feel free to I've seen a growing amount of expressing our desire for our representatives to have movement on this. And it's grown a lot in the last 5 years. And I hope the platform we see all of you participants as making that some part of your visible contribution.
There is one more question, maybe John Mandel can answer. What is the link for ecumenical aspect of the this one, the season of creation, Laudato Si? Ecumenical, any link? How to understand ecumenical spirituality and how to help our parishioners to grow in this ecumenical spirituality for ecology. This is from Emmanuel.
Wow, well that I can tell you that's one of my favorite questions you've just asked, because believe it or not, this work we're doing with the platform and with the Laudato Si movement is really a fundamental action we can do for ecumenical dialogue. So many years we've talked about dialogue and talking. I've seen so many concrete projects that involve not only other Christian churches, but other major religions around the globe, beach cleanups, tree plantings. It's a way that we can share our values about creation and create these substantial links that help us find that common ground of action. And so many positive things have happened. So I would just say this, as Catholics, don't be afraid of this. You can be totally Catholic and have ecumenical work and dialogue with other religions. We don't have to believe everything the same, but there are some fundamental things we already share, I can tell you that. So I would encourage that. I would encourage you to attend other people's services during the season of creation. I would encourage you to invite people to local green masses that are being held worldwide, that we are finally getting more and more of the bishops and the priests involved in that. So great opportunity for a real sharing of our souls. In fact, sometimes I could say, and I have to say this honestly, I have friends who are non-Catholic who I feel a closer connection to because of our link with ecology and our care for our common home than I do many other Catholics who have not been able to, begin to become aware of this as a part of their faith. So it's a beautiful blessing. I think it's a plan of God, and I think I hope we can really use this as a way of bringing our church back together again, as well as do great things for the world.
Thank you so much. I
John,
think
can I one question? Since you were talking about COP28, can we think of networking with the Holy See, as the Holy See has the status of voting right in the COP28, along with the different sectors that we have in Laudato Si action platform? Can we propose something to Holy See that will be taken up in COP28? Can we do something together like that? There is a question also similar to that in the chat. Yeah.
It's a very good question. And of course, I'm not necessarily the point person for the COP activities. However, the Dicastery for Promoting Integral Human Development has a point person that I can bring those ideas to, that there are discussions and plans going on right now about what is happening at the COP, what kind of input should we have. I will tell you this, and we're hoping this happens, but we're new at this COP thing with the church, because this is the first time we are not just observers, we're participants. We're equivalent to the United States or to Russia. So it's a different kind of change that's gone on here. But I would say this, if you have ideas, feel free to either send them our way, and the point person in the dicastery, I can make sure they get to. But here's one thing to think about. Coming to the COP with summaries of what the church is doing concretely around the world is one of the biggest megaphones we can have to say, listen, we carry some weight, because not only are we talking about what should be done, look at what we are doing now. And we believe the platform is one way of gathering those great stories, those great examples, and bringing them to COP, which we will do in some form, and sharing kind of an ethical weight that now we know that it's obviously the Vatican State that's kind of signed off on the Paris Agreement, and one can look at, well, that's just one small piece of the church, but the platform and all the activities and the movements, we're trying to demonstrate movement and achievement of goals, and maybe using this information we're gathering to track progress. That's a tremendous contribution we have, and we're going to be a lot more believable when we come with that kind of information. Otherwise, we've just been what I would say is a complainer. You should do this, you should do that. Well, wait a minute, what are we doing? This includes the Vatican State too. The Vatican State had set some goals, I believe in May, some goals, and some people maybe thought they could be more aggressive. That's a point of good discussion to have it within the church as well. So, but that's what I would recommend. If you can send emails or through communication channels to the platform, I'll gather those up. And I spoke with the point person at the dicastery who's working with the Vatican State to kind of work on some of the COP activities. And that's what I can promise to do. If any of you are planning on going to the COP, I mean, the last COP had a presence of more and more religious people there that have carried some weight now, some interest. Now, did it have an impact? Maybe not immediately, but I think it's beginning to show. I have a positive hope that our presence and our voice will ultimately have some weight. So that's my 2 cents. That's John Mandel, the director, speaking, not the Pope or the Vatican State speaking here.
Yeah, I think it's good that we discuss some of these, because I feel that I think that to help really the Vatican to bring ideas that are from the ground, the religious need to be involved, because it is the religious who are on the ground. And I remember there have been 2 meetings. And the first meeting, it was not prepared. We received the invitation very late from our office. So we attended. The second meeting, UISG was not invited. So UISG did not participate. And the second meeting, we were really prepared with material that we were going to bring ideas, but we were not invited. So if the Vatican goes to COP, whose ideas are they bringing? Whose voices are they bringing? Because our role is to bring the voices from the ground. If it is the cry of the poor, and we go with our own ideas, I don't think it is appropriate. So I think maybe these are the ideas we need to bring to the Vatican, that in future, the religious need to be invited to participate, so that they can really give them voices from the ground that they bring to the COP, so that it is not they talking, it is the people who are talking.
Sister, you're right on there, I believe. And I just as a short summary, I spent 2 different meetings in Rome in June, one with the dicastery, which has undergone some structural changes, all very good. And some of those meetings involved some discussions about COP and the fact, and there was acknowledgement that, you know what, we stumbled a bit on our first on our approaches to COP and how we're doing this. We're new at this, and that's no excuse for not doing it well the next time, right? So I voiced the opinion at that point that the Laudatio Action platform is the megaphone through which the bottom and the church can tell the concerns from the ground up, and that we have an obligation to summarize that information to offer to the Vatican. And my hope is that with enough shouting and crying that will happen. I can't guarantee it, but I know now we've got several months ahead, and I'm going to do my part to try to voice that. So I will voice that. And if any of the sectors, especially the religious, I mean, to be honest with you, you all should carry a lot of weight, because guess what? You're participating in this area more so than any other sector, including the structural diocese parishes structure at this point. So, and you're also involved with the people in the ground. So my hope is that we can make that more reality, but it certainly wasn't. I've heard a lot of, looking back, that, things didn't go as well as they should, and people weren't consulted. And I think going from being an observer to a participant is a step increase in responsibility that is still being managed by the church and understood. And I think all we can do, we have so many resources and people who can give input. So I think it's a matter of managing that and gaining that information. The more that happens, the more believable the church is too, because we have the real stories we're the only global force that has those stories and that information. So, Sister, I completely agree with you on that.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you for these important inputs and also the information that you have given. Thank you, John, Vincent, Sister Mamalifer, and Father Roy, for all the work that you have been doing also to promote integral ecology, and especially to continue this journey together towards integral ecology and the Laudato Si Action platform. The last thing that we want to share really fast, as you may know, we prepare each year, we prepare a workshop that is called the JPIC workshop, that it's intended to the JPIC promoters. And during that moment, we share different topics, we make different information, and we invite different speakers also to help us to move together to build a better world. But during that moment, we are also able to share with some of the JPIC promoters how they can do a plan, because sometimes we don't have all the skills and all the resources. So it's important also to have that part. So we have prepared this small form where you include your name, the congregation name, the title of the plan, the areas of problems that you are facing, the objective of the plan, the description of the activities and how to relate to your community carries, and then to say which of the Laudato Si goals are you using in that idea, project, plan that you have. And finally, you write what do you expect, which are going to be your fruitfulness or the results, or if you have already some results that you have been working with. And finally, the comments. This small piece that we are sharing is because we want to say to you that if you are afraid how to start, what to do, that you don't have to be worried, because there are different forms, and John also explained, and Father Vincent also explained, that you can use different forms also to fill out and to be able to apply a plan on the website of the Laudato Si Action platform. We don't want you to make more efforts. The important aspect here is that you can continue doing what you are doing with the plans, your work that you are doing, but that you can make them be connected to your carries, to the Laudato Si goals, and then be able to fill out in this information. And for your information also, we would like to ask, because this webinar was presented also, especially for the superior generals and also the major superiors and the JPIC promoters, because we are trying also to reach more people and the different religious conference of the different continents and also at a local level. So if you have any information of a conference that may be interested also to join or to make also the journey towards integral ecology, please send this information also to them. If you can take a picture right now from the screen, and then you can share also with your people, and you can contact us to our email that is jpicroma@gmail.com. So you can write also the contact information of the people that you know that can be interested to it, especially religious conference and also bishops or dioceses that are interested to it. Okay, so again, thank you so much. This webinar was really a good moment, and only to invite you for our next webinar that we will have one on the 18th of September that is connected to integral ecology, but also the reality of mining and extractivism in Latin America. We will have the whole day full program. We will post it also in our website and also in the e-news that we normally send, that it's a newsletter. And the 26th of September, we will have another important webinar about mining. It's connected to integral ecology, but also to the energy transition. So which are the impacts of this energy transition today? Okay, so thank you so much. And Sister Mamalifa is asking me if we can take a picture, because we want also to have this. If all of you prepare, if you want to open your cameras right now, it's the right moment to take a picture all together. I don't know if Gianluca is there, if he can help us also to take the picture, please, if you can do for the 7 rooms that we have. So let us know when is the time. So smile, please. Gianluca, it's done. You let us know when it's done. Gianluca is working or not? Can you let us know? No, we cannot hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's working.
Okay.
I'm doing for all the pages. Okay. Done.
Great. So
you.
thank you so much for this webinar, and thank you especially to the translators and also the technical support that we receive from the UISG. See you next webinar. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless you. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
1 hour.
Watched. So I don't know if I forward what we have watched 1 hour 24 minutes to your email. Okay, thank you.
Like if I'm writing my name, what I'll do is in brackets.
How's that?